Good. Cool.
Good afternoon to everyone out there, to our viewers all over the world. Good afternoon. We want to say thank you so much for being with us, working with us. We want to say thank you. It's been an amazing and wonderful day. Right, today what we're going to talk about is about grief. You know, we all go through it. But it's a topic that we really do not talk about. And today we have a special guest on the Father Talk Show who is going to talk to us how we deal with grief when we lose a loved one. I know many of the single fathers out there probably became single fathers because they've lost their loved one. They've lost somebody, and at the end, they end up become the sole provider of that child or their children. My name is Margaret Thorley. I am the CEO of Hope for Restoration, which is a non-profitable organization, and also the host of the Father Talk Show. But I got an amazing co-host. I love it when I say this to him. Watch him laugh. My king. My
Thank you.
King Daniel. How's your day been?
Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, a little bit of work at the beginning, and always looking forward to the show and meeting our guest as well. So I'm going to introduce her. Her name is Dr. Joy Vaughan, sorry, and she's a passionate reinvention and resilience specialist who focuses on shifting mindsets one neuron at a time. A native of Barbados and a graduate of Columbia and Nova University, she's a well-known personal development, neurocognitive, and emotional intelligence practitioner. As one who has experienced a lifetime of loss, Dr. Vaughan has helped many individuals and couples heal from the death of their marriage or relationships and to find and embrace a life that they can love. Dr. Vaughan is author of Powerful People, Powerful Lives for Teens and Young Adults, the 7-Step Empowerment Series for the Secular and Christian Souls, co-author of Expert World Leaders Volume 2 and The Art of Resilience Phoenix Rises. I like that name. She asks how I can be of service to you. Dr. Vaughan, that's quite amazing. There's a lot of books there. Tell us a little bit more about yourself and tell the audience who you are and why you're here.
Well, first of all, Margaret and Daniel, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. You know, like you said, Margaret, in the beginning, grief is not something that we normally talk about. And yet we don't think about exactly what we're grieving. When we talk about grief, we talk about death. Well, for me personally, I have experienced loss since age 13, believe it or not, when my mother passed. She transitioned, having completed all her work, and then all she needed to do, fulfilled her life purpose, and then went over. So from the age of 13, it's been one loss after the other, after the other, after the other. Ending up more recently, I guess 2022, with the death of my only child and son. Right? So you can see a lifetime of losses and a lifetime of grief. But it's not about that, because people will come and go. I always say every soul has a shelf life. We're never here forever, but what you do while you're here is critical. And I think that for me, the whole grieving process has brought me, made it very poignant. Life is precious. And what you do with it while you're here is even more precious. Does that make sense?
Yes, 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 indeed. You know, thank you so much. Welcome to the show, to the Father Talk Show, and thank you for opening this. As we know, you've just said something that hit me to my heart. Now, something we don't talk about, I mean, I've got a couple of questions, and my co-host Daniel would ask. At the age of 13, you lost your parent. Now, there are some children out there that's probably going through this. Can you just tell them, maybe there's a father out there or even a parent or somebody out there who have just lost their father or their mother? Can you just tell them, what was your journey? How did you feel? And how could they overcome that?
For me, I said I lost my mother at 13. I also lost my father. So let me just clarify that. My mom died physically, but my father lost the love of his life. So he died emotionally. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Two separate pathways of grieving. And here he was with a 13-year-old daughter, wondering, what am I going to do with her? Right? And at the same time, managing his own grief as a man who'd lost his soulmate. And so the best decision was to send me to live with a family member who could offer me the love and support I needed. Not the best, but it was the best decision at that time. So it took me to this day, and I'm up in, I won't say how old I am. I'm mature, like most women. Right? There's not a day that goes by that I don't miss my mom. Now, my father's transition, but she wasn't there for the birth of my son. She wasn't there when I got married. She wasn't there at key points of my life. And so you asked me how I cope with all of that. I had to surround myself with people who could encourage me and also who understood what I was dealing with and who just loved me through it, really. So finding a supportive network is critical to the grieving process.
Joy, can I ask you a question? Because I had a friend who experienced, losing her father, and she said that when she lost the father, she felt that no one understood where she was coming from, or what she was going through. Did you experience something similar, or for you, did you experience a good support, a support network when that happened?
I experienced a very supportive network, right?
Yeah.
This was in Barbados. We're a very close-knit society, and most of them just wanted to fill that void in some way and to have me experience life, as best I could. But when you talk about not being understood, that is also, I've dealt with clients who are misunderstood, because you have to be around people who've also experienced grief or loss, right? People who have never experienced that cannot help you to get past that hurt, the pain, the regret. So you have to surround yourself with people who can do that, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a support, what do you call it? Like a support group. Very, very critical that you find that for yourself. And for children, there's grief groups for children. I don't know if you have that in the UK, but that's critical. Don't poo-poo it and think, children, no, they feel it. My granddaughters felt it when their dad passed. And we found a supportive network for them, including one at the school that just helped them get through that. And it was hard.
I can just imagine. And what about you losing your son? We've heard about, parents, we shouldn't bury our children. It should be the other way. What was that journey like, you losing your son?
Well, I'll tell you, it's very unique, my situation, because before our son came here, because we're very spiritual people. Before he came here, we knew that he was only going to be here for a little bit.
Oh, wow.
We didn't know how long, but we were told spiritually, look, this person is coming through to do X, Y, Z. We'll see. He may stay, he may not. And what we committed to do as parents was to make every single day special for all of us. And I was going through hell. My co-parent was going through hell at the same time. But we only had one child, but we knew our purpose in his life was to make sure that he had everything he needed to do what he needed to do. And so when he passed from COVID, he was 35, and he had completed all the work he needed to do.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Can I just take you back a little bit, because we will be talking, because losing your son and all your journey, it enable you to do the work that you do, supporting other people out there, men and everything. But I need to bring you back just a little bit for my clarification in terms of you were told that your son, your only son, is going to be here on earth for very short time. As a mother, it's your emotion. I mean, as a mother, I can feel these things in me. What was it like, that journey?
Well, acceptance. You know, Kubler-Ross, have you ever heard of Kubler-Ross's work? Where she takes you through the stages of grief. The first stage is shock. Then there's anger, there's denial, right? There is bargaining depression. All the way to there's guilt, all the way to acceptance. And when you lose someone, you do go through all of those stages. Now, the one thing our son said to us, Mom, Dad, you must live your life with no regrets. No regrets. And so whatever we needed to do to manage that, right? And so when he transitioned, I remember we would take out the trash on a certain day. He would always come over. And I took it out, and he was standing right there. We're very connected. And he said, Mom, I am so sorry. And I said, you have nothing to be sorry about. Go do the work that God has called you to do. I'm good. You're good. I love you. And then he just left.
Wow. Wow. Is it physically that you had the conversation, or spiritually?
Spiritually.
Spiritually.
Because we made a commitment, knowing this, we made a commitment that we were only one thought away from each other. We may not have a body, but we have a soul. And so the souls are connected. Am I making sense?
Yes, you do. Yes.
Yeah.
Daniel, am I making sense?
Yeah. There's what you reminded me of. There's a book I once read called The Journey of Souls. And yeah, it talks about the journey from one lifetime to the next, and and how, often we do experience a lot, grief in so many different aspects, whether it's the departing of a loved one, or whether it's the breakup of a relationship. It's all part of a process. It's all part of a teaching and learning. So yeah.
And here's a cool thing about it, right? When somebody dies, for me personally, I don't know, yes, it's a much easier way of dealing with it than a divorce. Why do I say that? Because when you divorce, the person is still around. And you have to see them all the time. And it brings up, like a movie, the memories, in your brain that play like a movie. Yes. And the memory, you very seldom focus on the good memories. It's all the horrible things the person did to you
Yeah,
or your
we were just
child.
having a we were just having a conversation about that, isn't it, in relationship and the memory that comes with it. And
Yes.
now I know with your journey, all right, with your journey you've gone through, it's bring you to where you are today and the work that you do that you're so passionate about, helping people out there, men out there, relationships out there to build their life for a better life, better understanding. Can you tell us about that work?
Yes. So I help couples who are divorcing or who have divorced to find freedom and a new life for themselves. And because I'm a neurocognitive coach, I take them through a step-by-step process to have them really get rid of, like seriously, the anger, the bitterness, the hatred towards their co-parent, the
Mm-hmm,
person who you chose at some point in your life, whether it was a fleeting moment, but you chose this person to have a relationship with. Now,
mm-hmm,
you may not have meant to have a child. It's I don't call it an accident, but things happen. But at the end of the day, you made the choice to be with this person. The person
mm-hmm,
did not turn out to be who you wanted them to be, but who does? You may not have been the person they wanted you to be. Hello, right?
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
You to hold on to that anger and bitterness because someone has not fulfilled your expectations. Because it's all lands in the world of unfulfilled expectations and lack of communication along the way. So we do a
Mm-hmm,
whole thing on the brain of leading your emotions from the frontal part of your brain, which is the part that does the critical thinking, right? So many of my co-parents want their co-parents to behave. Hello, they're not children. They're not,
mm-hmm,
they may never be who you want them to be. Nevertheless, you have a person who is dependent on you to get them through life. So where do you want to spend the time? Do you want to spend the time being angry at your co-parent or bitter at your co-parent or frustrated because they're not doing what you want them to do? Or are you going to focus on doing the best for the child that you chose to bring here? Am I making sense?
yes, yes,
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
yes.
So you, for the co-parents and the divorcees that I deal with, I said you have to look at yourself. Do not expect your co-parent to change. If they do, have a parade down Main Street.
Mm.
But if they don't, it is still your responsibility to be a parent. Now,
Mm-hmm,
my co-parent loved him to pieces, but at some point of his life, he was not able to fulfill certain aspects of fatherhood.
mm-hmm.
And he adored his son, no question. Makes sense?
Yes.
However, as a human being, there were certain flaws that did not allow him to do what he needed to do 100% fully, completely. So, am I going to waste my time and effort knowing full well I have a limited amount of time here with this individual that we brought through? Or am I going to do what I need to do? Whether it's working two jobs to make sure that he's provided for, ensuring that he connects with his dad all the time, a phone
Mm-hmm,
call, FaceTime. Even if his dad wasn't around, I would say, you know what? Don't be mad at your dad. I would always tell him that. Don't be mad at your dad because sometimes he's not able to do the things you're asking him to do. So just forgive him for that. And the time when he is, enjoy that time.
That is a very good advice. Very good advice. Daniel, do you got anything to add on this bit?
Yeah, no, your first point about, whether you want to, be in a relationship with the ex as with antagonism or with love, it's, most people, I think, once they heal, they want to be in a relationship with love. But if they're holding on to these emotions, then it's very difficult for them to be loving and kind when all they're experiencing is anger, and they're recreating this anger over and over again in their heads about what they should have been like or what they should have done or how they wasted their time. It's very difficult for them. And I think that's where the grieving process, because I think underlying all of that is a tremendous amount of grief. And when you are angry, you hide. Anger is always the cover emotion, right? So you
Exactly.
hide the grief. So once you choose not to be angry, that you have that opportunity for grief to arise, and then you
Yes.
can heal and then reconnect, but now as friends rather
Yes.
than, yeah.
Yeah. And you may never be friends. Look, I've
Yeah.
had couples who started off really well. Then one became addicted to drugs. One became addicted to alcohol. Those chemicals actually change the brain patterns and change the connection in the brain so that people don't think straight. People don't act the way you want them to act because it's the drug or the alcohol talking. Might make sense? So they may become abusive, either verbally or physically. Well, I have to ask, do I really want our child to be around that? The answer is no.
So what kind of advice would you give for, parents that are perhaps experiencing conflict with each other after separation? And then you think there's underneath all that is hidden grief and that comes from the separation that they haven't dealt with.
Yeah. So number one, get help,
Mm.
right? Find a therapist, find a counselor, find myself who can really help you walk you through the process. Because here's the coolest part about this journey. The anger and the bitterness may not have nothing to do with your co-parent. And it may have everything about how you were raised. You might be angry at your father, and that gets transferred onto your spouse.
Mm.
Or you
And
might
that
be angry at your mother.
yeah,
Similar, yeah.
yeah.
You've got
And
to
that,
work all of that out.
yeah. And I was going to say, many times that happens during the relationship as well, where our past revisits itself as present moment circumstances, and we project our past
Exactly.
onto the person.
Yes, because we parent like how our parents parent, and that might not be appropriate for your relationship.
At the
You have
time.
to look,
No.
right? You have to look at values, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I'm coming to this is beyond sex. Most people get together. You look good, I look good. Let's have a little chitty chitty. Okay, let's go beyond that. Is this person have the character and the values that you would want in a wife or mother? They may look good, plickety plow, but are they caring? Are they loving? Are they forgiving? And some people haven't even worked through what qualities they want in a mate. They just take the
I,
first thing walking.
I love the bit that you said, which really, when I'm sitting there listening to you, regarding about how you've been brought up, can impact the way you bring up your children, your relationship with your spouse, or even sometimes around other people as well. I mean, when you spoke, something just triggered my brain because I never got to know my real mother. All right. When my real mother passed away, I kept crying, but I never really understood why I
Mm-hmm.
was crying, you know. And if I get into an argument with somebody, I'm a very strong and powerful person. I can stand in my own space
Yeah.
and really, yeah, I love my home. Huh? But then I would just burst out crying. But when you said that, is that action that grief, grieving process as a child never really fully dealt with it, but I had counseling. But I'm just going back a little bit. I had counseling on that because it just got really out of hand. And then as they asked me the question, have you ever kind of lost somebody? And then I said, oh my God, even though I've never met my real mother, but this has had an impact throughout my journey as a child and into adulthood. So what you're saying is right. You know, how we've been brought up, and if there's grief around there, it does impact our spouse, it does impact our children. So how
Yeah.
can people out there that go through that, because I know that's what you do, if somebody like me or somebody that's gone through that, I know you said surround yourself with other people, but when you're young, it's kind of difficult to understand that. What can somebody do? You know, what can they do if they're going through that journey that I just explained?
Well, the whole thing is that even if find an adult that you trust as a child, and it might not be your mom, it might not be your dad, it might be a teacher or a priest. Find someone that understand and that you can talk to. Like for me, it was my auntie. You know, sometimes you can't even express your feelings because you're so hurt, right? Art, drawing is a good way to release some of that. Story writing, just write the story, whatever that is for you. Yeah. So these are things that children can do, but the drawing is critical because all the like I watch my grandchildren's drawings very carefully, you know, and I we talk about it. There are 9 core emotions to anger, by the way, because you're never angry. You're hurt, you're disappointed, you're resentful. You know, and there's some several more. If you can identify those core emotions, it's so much better because then it gives you some freedom. Instead of saying, I'm mad with you, you know, you really hurt me when you did X, Y, Z. Now, the other person may have meant to hurt you, but hurt people hurt people.
Yes. Yes, very true.
So, what I had to learn, and I'm bringing it back to my co-parent, was how badly he had been hurt. And then I could develop compassion for him as a human being. And once I could get to that point, then I didn't get caught up in his stuff. And I could parent or child until he was able to do so or not. You know, there's a saying that in my journey that resonates with me: love people for who they are and who they are not.
It's a powerful one. It's very, very powerful saying.
Margaret, it takes something, I'm not kidding, to do that. Because you so badly want them to be who you want them to be.
Yeah, and it's quite normal. It's normal, you know, after a divorce, it's normal during a marriage, in a relationship. But when you first meet someone, that doesn't happen. So why do you think it is that it all of a sudden you start having these expectations in a relationship, in a marriage? Why do you think that is?
Poor communication, lack of open and honest communication, fear, shame. You don't sit down, you know, having an authentic communication is an art. People don't normally, they don't normally have those kinds of, have the communication that I'm going to communicate so that I look good to you. Well, I call it being in the cabbage patch. After 6 months of being in the cabbage patch, sometimes the real person emerges, and you're going like, whoa, I've had so many couples say, but she wasn't like that when we were dating. He wasn't like that. I don't know what happened. They changed. No, they were there all along. But when you have stars in your eyes and your pheromones are going and the hormones are going, you don't see a lot. but my stepmother, I didn't like her very much. But she said one key thing: what you see by broad daylight, don't look for by candlestick. So if it's there in front of your face, it really is true. This person, you walk into somebody's home and it's messy. That's what you're going to have to deal with.
It's very true. It's true, very true.
Right?
Because that was something my Angelo says as well. You know, when somebody show you their true self, right? Know it, accept
Believe
it.
them.
That's it. Yes, yes.
The
It's
thing
a
is,
powerful saying.
what is the true self though? You know, what is the true self? Is it the self that we see? Are we seeing them truthfully? That's the
A
thing.
part of them.
Yeah.
A part of them, but not the. You listen. You learn people over time,
Mm.
and then you choose at each juncture whether you're going to continue to love them or not. It's a choice.
When you
And,
have a couple,
It is, yeah, 100%.
and a commitment. You said for better or for worse. So the worst is going to come, and people get tested under adversity.
when you have a couple in front of you, because you made a key thing, and now sometimes we don't really talk about that, poor communication in a relationship. When you have couple that sits in front of you, and you've picked up on this, you know, because of poor communication, that's what got you to be here. What is the advice that you would give them there to kind of improve their communication?
We have a technique that we do that has them to be able to communicate with facts, not feelings. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
The second tool we give them is to be able to communicate without fear. But the most important tool that we give them is to be able to listen and reflect. So the person feels that they're being, don't disagree, don't agree. So you would say to me, let's do a little role play for the audience. So just share something with me. Daniel, you want to role play with me?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. So just tell me anything you know, like a concern that you have.
A concern that I have to do with relationships or
Yeah, whatever. We're together and there's something that's been really nagging and bothering, but you're not too sure, you don't want to say anything.
okay, so it's to do with what you said earlier about facts, not feelings. So one thing that my girlfriend said to me at some point was, "You never help me." Yeah. Whereas I do, probably just not
Okay,
as much as she would like.
right. So I would say, so Daniel, what I'm hearing you say is that you never help me. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you could get triggered when somebody says you never help me. Your automatic brain is like, yes, I do. I help you
Yeah.
this way and this way. And you cannot hear anything after that. So you would want to then take this process of going through, okay, you say I never help you. What do you mean by that? How is it that I never help you? And how would you like to be helped? Because in your mind, you're helping all the way. But in her mind, you're never helped, which neither of that is true, but it's the perception.
Yeah. I mean, I
Driving
did.
the show.
Yeah, I did say originally, I said to her that that's not true that you say, because I do, and other people do. And but I don't think at the time that was the right. Yeah.
Now it's like you're being confrontational, right? You're battling
Yeah.
now. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, you don't. Yes, I do. And you're not getting anywhere. Have you ever read the book, The Seven Love Languages?
I have. Yeah. Very good
Yeah,
book.
I have. Yeah.
And men are from Mars, women from Venus. Have you read those two books?
Yeah.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those love languages are very important because you might be helping in your love language, but it's not her love language. And so in her mind, you never help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
it's not that
that
you
is
don't love her.
true.
I'm clear you love her and she loves you. It's just how it's being expressed is not in a language. Like you'll be speaking French and she'll be speaking Spanish. Make sense?
Yeah.
So now you have
Yes.
to go back and really do the work to say, okay, I hear you. Daniel, as a man, when a woman says something to you, always says, I hear and I understand you. Now let's see how we can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and she gets all ooey and gooey.
Oh, that is so lovely. That is so lovely. I love the role play. I love the role play. Dr. Joy,
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you touched. I'm now gonna just go, and I think this happened even in the relationship that we're talking about. You said about emotionally dead. So the person, can you just expand that for us? Because I know you have the emotional dead where the person is alive, but because of that part, the grieving could, can you just
Yeah,
elaborate a little bit on that for us?
absolutely.
Yes.
So the couple of things about being emotionally dead. You become emotionally dead when over time you don't feel heard and you don't feel understood. That's which is piggybacking Daniel on the role play, right?
Mhm.
You don't hear me, you don't understand me. Or if you hear, or if you listen to me, you didn't hear me. That's two different skill sets. Listen and hearing are two different. Or I said something and you heard what you wanted to hear, but it wasn't what I said.
Mhm.
That's this is about emotional death now. And very over time, when you don't correct that, the person becomes emotionally dead inside. They go inside, and then you get just going through the motions, but they're not really there with you. Okay?
Mm. Mm.
Mhm. Yes,
They
yes.
are grieving in that. They are grieving the loss of what they thought the relationship could be.
I think it happened when you mention it. It feels to me to be the default state of a lot of long-term relationships that haven't addressed those core issues. It's like being emotionally dead, and they're just going about their lives, but not without the joy or love or connection. Feels like that's a lot of couples.
Yeah. I love to see mature couples who have reached it to maybe 30 years hold hands and walk down the street or share a laugh. They have done the
Mhm.
work to get to that point. Whereas I observe couples and they're in a restaurant and they're both on their cell phones and there's no communication between them. Or
Yeah.
one is looking into outer space and the other, they haven't said a word. The food comes and they don't even say, oh, can I have one of your potatoes? And there's no, there's nothing. They may even
Mhm.
sleep in separate bedrooms.
So it's probably like there's a lot of things that need to be said that aren't being said if that's
Exactly.
happening.
Mhm.
And I love what you said, Daniel. Things that need to be said and aren't being said at the correct time. Because you see, once you ignore it, it piles up and it piles up and leads into resentment and leads into bitterness. And then it ends up like, well, you never listen to me.
Wow. Wow. That is so phenomenal. That is really fantastic over there. Now we got a few minutes left towards this interview, and I know you've got an amazing and wonderful program coming up. Do you want to share that what that
Yes,
program is?
yes. I have a quick program to reinvention and resilience, what I call the double R effect. right?
Mhm.
It's a quick 6-week program where we take you through the process of looking at your fear, looking at your procrastinate, looking at your behaviors, and have you reinvent yourself newly based on what you say you want. And then we help you to cement that down so that you can manage that and be that over time in the next
Mhm.
3 weeks. So it's just a little taste, right? And then if you
Mhm.
want to go further, you can go further. But it's doing the deep work of shifting your molecules, rearranging your molecules, so that you can achieve the freedom, the emotional freedom that you want, so that you can be successful in any area of your life.
Wow.
Sounds good. Sounds great, actually. And tell us a bit more. You said a six. Did you say 6 weeks?
It's 6 weeks. Yeah, we meet
Yeah.
once a week for an hour, and then you have an accountability partner who keeps you on track to do the homework every week. And then you come back and share what you've
Mm.
learned about you. What are you discovering about yourself? How do you see yourself changing,
Mhm.
growing? Because you have to be willing to do the work, though. That's the only thing, right?
And yeah, that's the part, isn't it? Doing the work, taking those steps, looking within.
Yes. But imagine the joy when you're free of all that stuff and you can actually move on to something amazing that you've always wanted but was afraid to go for.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
That's
Yeah.
that's the prize.
Now that is really fantastic because also within this as well, kind of will revive your life as well, your personal life or your marriage life, and also your children as well. Because when you become a better you, a better
Mm-hmm.
person, you look at things slightly quite different. You know, things that normally used to bother you get all upset, and why not? They no longer work.
No. Well, my favorite words are, is it worth it?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Is it worth it? Is it worth it you carrying this negative emotion around you? Is it worth it you being angry all the time? And most time it isn't worth it, you know.
No.
You know
Go
what?
on.
It's funny because sometimes I was with a client doing a client session yesterday, and he was holding some anger towards family members, and he was like, "I said, are you ready to let it go?" And he says, "No, I want to continue carrying it." Because
Oh,
in his head, he was like, uh, it will be his way of getting some revenge. And even though I said, it's going to hurt you more than the anger is going to hurt you more than it's going to hurt your family members, he was like, at the moment, I'm not ready to let it go. And that's okay. He's not yet ready to let it go. He wasn't.
Yeah. We
mm,
call
mm.
that drinking the poison, hoping the other person is going to die.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
That is a really good one. And I've never out there drinking the poison, hoping the next person going to die, and they're not because it's you that's suffering and everything. We got a few more minutes before we come in. Can you give anybody out there who's going through a grief? Because I heard something you said which really touched my heart. You watched your grandchildren doing art and drawing after they kind of lost their father. Can you give us out there, maybe there's a father that's or mother who has lost their loved one and the children and everything. Can you give us at least 3 or 4 practical steps that a mother or child, a father who are going through that journey right now so they can get the support the child needs? Because as I was talking to Daniel, one thing we don't talk about is that children grieve,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
losing a
Um,
loved one.
yes.
So,
I have them write a love letter to the
mhm,
person who is gone, number one. For the adults, have them write a letter of forgiveness for the person who is gone. And
mhm,
have them write a letter of forgiveness to God for taking them.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Now, can I just, that is powerful. Can I just go one? Why do they have to write a love letter to God for forgiveness? Why? Because some people may not understand that.
Okay. So most people get very angry at God when someone dies, and they may not understand that this is part of a very, very large picture. Again, every soul has a shelf life. Nobody's here forever. Even children aren't here forever. I had a brother who was born, he went, wah, and he went back to heaven. Okay? You have to put it beyond the physical and look at it from a spiritual perspective. I can tell you, hands down, that is the number one thing that helped me get through so much grief and loss. I had to take it there and to understand his ways are not our ways.
Yes. His will is not our will.
His will
Yes.
is not our will. And when you write a letter of forgiveness to God for taking your loved one, when I saw my son on the gurney, what I said to him was, thank you for the honor and the privilege of being your mother for 35 years. Because
That's
it
powerful.
was an honor and a privilege to mother him.
Wow.
Now, that goes all the way back to relationships from the very start to be able to get to that point. And it's a process. It's not easy. It's a process. But I said, how are you so strong? I said, because I understand the kingdom.
Wow. That's
Beautiful.
powerful. That is absolutely powerful because many people will never think of that, writing that love letter or that forgiving letter to God. Nobody would think it unless you've explained it. It makes so much sense because it releases that
Yes,
unforgiveness from your heart.
yes. And then I
Oh,
have them burn it.
yeah,
And you
yeah.
burn it so that you get
Okay.
free. I sell freedom and courage. That's what I sell.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share something that I was doing the other day about that. I don't know, you're familiar with the Ho'oponopono prayer?
Yes,
Yeah. So
yes.
I was grieving the loss of someone, and it just came up, and I was sharing this with Margaret just before we started. And so I was saying Ho'oponopono to the individual, then to myself, then to God. So, and I was doing that, and it brought up a lot of grief, and I cleared it, and I felt so much better afterwards. But yeah.
Yeah, and people don't, holding on to grief will make you very ill. And I always say, you do not deserve that. Do not self-mutilate yourself like that.
Yeah.
You're better than that.
Yeah.
You deserve
Wow.
so much. You're so worthy.
Wow. Wow. I wish this interview can go longer
I
because the
understand.
last one that you've just said there, holding on to grief makes you kind of sick. People don't think about that. And it's the same as holding on to unforgiveness, isn't it, as well? That brings in again sick, can't function properly. I want to say, Dr. Joy, thank you so much for visiting the Father Talk Show. Thank you for coming in to share with us. It's been a very enlightening topic. It's a topic we don't talk about a lot regarding about grief, loss, and also in a relationship. And we would definitely love to have you back because I love what you said about, kids about grieving and also what they need to do about that. Thank you so much for having you
You're
there.
welcome. You can find me at drjoy.com, drjoycoaching.com, drjoycoaching.com. If you ever want to get, any of your listeners want to ever get in touch with me. Okay, and
No,
thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Daniel. It's been an honor.
Thank
no,
you,
it's an honor.
Joy.
I'll come back and take your details also, because we also put all your details on the YouTube as well, so they can follow you on that. So we'll come back to you. I just want to speak to all our speakers as the program is coming to an end. I just want to summarize some powerful points that Dr. Joy out here. And one of them, I know there are a lot of fathers out there or women that have lost their loved one, their partner. The children also are grieving as you, the parents, are grieving. And one of the key that I want to share with you that Dr. Joy has said is that get the children to write letters, all right, to do drawing and be there with them and discuss it with them, how they are feeling. And also get them to write a letter to God for asking for forgiveness of taking their loved one away from them. Please, if any parent is going through that right now, at this moment, please take these tools and use them. And also the end part of it is burn the letters, all right? Burn the letters, but as a parent, give that support to your children, because they do need that support and they need your love, your journey, as you're both going through this new journey of discovery, because that's what's going to be happening. And hopefully at the end of it, there'll be joy out there. But we're going to come back to you. Thank you so much. My friend Daniel, big up.
Margaret, thank you. Yeah, 100% loved that conversation with Dr. Joy. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And yeah, I think there's so many opportunities in healing through either writing letters, sitting with our emotions and feelings, and in doing so, we're going to feel lighter, we're going to feel happier, and we're going to definitely feel more connected with people. And even if they're not here, we're still going to feel more connected with them if we let go of this grief. So yeah, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Joy,
thank you.
Thank you so much, Hen. How can people reach you? I know you've given it a little bit, but just expand, because I know you got a program. How could they register with the program? Is that something you'll give us and we can put that on the YouTube as part of the link when we share your video?
Yes, it's going to be drjoycoaching.com. You can find everything there on the website, and you can register there. Definitely, the first step is to book a free call with me. That way I know what you're dealing with, and I can guide you a little bit more. And then we're starting a program, I guess, at the end of May, right? So I'd like to invite all the listeners. I'm going to have a free webinar where we kind of discuss these things a little bit more and see. But the first step is to book a call so that I can really guide you in a manner that you need to be guided, because we have to know what we're dealing with, right? before we can deal.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joy, for having here and to share your story and your journey and the most amazing work you're doing. Thank you to all our viewers. It was lovely having you. And please press subscribe, like, so we can bring some amazing speakers like Dr. Joy to come and share the journey and bring the most healing that we need. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.